much all the furniture in the apartment is Christopher Guy. I love knowledge, I love learning, and I love Formula One, I love motorsports. And fine art is increasingly an area where Annika and myself are investing our time, our money, our resources to provide a return in itself, and maybe consider putting 5 or 10% of your net assets. You could do a lot worse than investing in fine art. I love being up here because in the far distance, the furthest peninsula you can see, that's actually Italy. Your network is your net worth. Well, hello, my name's Paul Smith and welcome to my home. Come on in. This is easily the favourite home that I've ever had. This room is actually larger than the entire first flat that I ever bought in London, just to give you a sense of scale. And from my perspective, it was very important that when we decided to live here, that we did it justice. I'm sure you recognise it, the Thinker. And it's actually a scale model of the Thinker. And one of my true inspirations in life, well, two of my true inspirations in life, one being my dad and the other being Warren Buffett. They both had a very similar mentality to life, which is, Warren Buffett says, if you ask him, how did you make your billions? He said, well, I'll sit in my office and I'll think and I'll read. And that was probably the number one activity that my dad did. So for me to have the physical embodiment of this is from the Rodin Museum in Paris. I can't really think of anything that's more meaningful to me from a single piece of artwork. So whenever you're thinking that you want something different or better in your life, here's my first piece of advice to you. Just think about it. Pretty much all the furniture in the apartment is Christopher Guy. Fantastic designer, in my view. All very coordinated. Well, I don't know whether you agree or not, but we've done our best to coordinate it. And Christopher Guy's trademark, you can actually see on the back of these chairs. It's the crossed legs on the back of the chairs. That's his absolute trademark. You won't really see that anywhere else. This particular piece, which is the shelving and TV cabinet and so on, because if you open it up, it's got the TV in there. I've used the shelving to kind of show my interest in things that I love. I love knowledge, I love learning, and I love Formula One, I love motorsports. I'm a non-conformist, so this is one of my favourite books. My dad was a historian, I study history, and this is quite an incredible book about really successful generals, really successful military leaders that just literally didn't follow the rule book. They knew the rule book, but then they threw it away. If you do what everybody else does, you're going to have what everybody else has as an existence. Just common sense, isn't it? So why are we never taught that? So observe the masses and do the opposite, but don't just say it, actually do it. And use people like this to inspire you in that. Because the intelligence, I was told once by my dad, is the ability to use old information and apply it to a new situation. So this book, or any book like it, that talks about unique, different approaches to solving problems, will often show you the way when it comes to business or wealth or property. The absolute best, the optimal combination, is where you've got something that you genuinely love. It gives you pleasure, in this case visual pleasure, on a daily basis, every time you see it. But it also goes up in value. It's an investment. And fine art is increasingly an area where Annika and myself are investing our time, our money, our resources to provide a return in itself. And a good example of that is this, the olive tree. We actually commissioned this from an artist in Athens. And this is Port de la Figuerette. This is where our French villa is. And the tree is looking down from our garden. This is the Bay of Cannes, and these are the Lorena Islands. And we can actually see the Lorena Islands from our villa. So We chose what we believe to be the best painter of olive trees in the world. And since we made this investment, conservatively, it's gone up by a factor of 4 times in 2 years. That's what I call getting bang for your buck. This is another Greek artist. This is a guy called Apostle, and it's an original. He does a lot of work in brass and glass. And this is actually designed to be outside, but when I saw it, I thought, I know exactly where I want that. I want it in the middle of this space. Suffice to say that art is very important to Annika and myself. Not only from a visual perspective, an appreciation perspective. In this case, it's not only visual, it's quite tactile, to be able to touch it. But obviously there's the financial element as well. So when you get to that point, another little tip for you, maybe consider putting 5 or 10% of your net assets. You could do a lot worse than investing in fine art. Annika has always loved flowers. So every Friday, we're now in a position where we're fortunate enough that we get fresh flower arrangements like this delivered to the house. I absolutely love it, and more importantly, I know Annika does too. I love being up here because in the far distance, the furthest peninsula you can see, that's actually Italy. So we're not very far at all from Italy. Then this nearer headland that you can see just over here, that's actually France. And then obviously right in front of us, well, where we are now, we're in Monaco. So from here, you've actually got a view, a great view of 3 different countries. So one of the apps that I quite like using up here is called Marine Traffic. And what this allows me to do is allows me to identify the various boats that are down there. So, and I'm getting to know the various boats, and I know quite a few of the owners of the boats as well. But if I flip it onto augmented reality, then it's going to start calibrating, so it's calibrating away. And if I just point it out there now, I can actually see various boats that I recognise, like this one, for example, Cloud 9. This boat here, Cloud 9, my son was on it yesterday. He's very friendly with the son of the owner of it, and it's a monster. It's an 89-metre yacht. So he was out there with his friends yesterday playing on sea bobs and all sorts of things. So there is so much to life in Monaco. But fundamentally, it all comes back to the same thing. It all comes back, whatever the technology, whatever the value of the yacht, whatever it is, it all comes back to relationships. And it's often said, but I'm going to say it again, your network is your net worth. Typically, in Monaco, kitchens are extraordinarily small. So this one's actually quite large by Monaco standards. And the reason kitchens in Monaco are typically quite small is because everybody eats out all the time, or eats in. In the base of the tower, we've got a Cipriani, and Cipriani will do room service in your apartment. So if you just can't be bothered, you just phone them up, talk to the manageress, tell her what you want. She'll have it up, silver service, within a blink of an eye, quicker than you could cook it, that's for sure. I do like a coffee. And I've never seen one like this before. Look at this. You can actually choose whatever you want. And I absolutely love it. You might think I'm a bit weird. I like doing that. Oh, I've got to show you the hot plate, because the control for it is here. It's magnetic. You've got to put it there. And then that's how you turn it on. That took me a while to work that one out. Nasty old plastic bottles. Well, this actually has got some vitamins in it that I'm going to be drinking shortly, so I do use them sometimes. But they're polluting the seas, they're causing chaos globally and all that stuff. How do you get rid of all that plastic from your life? That was a question we asked ourselves. We did the research and we came up with this. This is a mega water filter. You just tip regular tap water in the top. This bit here has got all sorts of fancy filters in it. And then it comes in the bottom here, and there's the tap there. And that gets rid of umpty-tumpty plastic bottles like this that we don't use anymore. And obviously the most important man in the place, it's not me, it's him. This is Harrison. He's my it's 18 months now, my 1-year-old grandson. That was on his birthday. What a gorgeous little man. So, welcome to the back terrace. This terrace is an absolute sun trap from about 4 o'clock onwards in the afternoon. So you've got a terrace on that end of the apartment where you catch the morning sunshine. Through most of the day you've got the front, and then on the back terrace, there's about 2 hours where we have no sunshine. For me, knowing your boundaries is always been a very useful thing. So this is Monaco, okay? This is France. The end of my finger is now in France. And if you think about it, if you look down there, it becomes very obvious why that is France and this is Monaco. This is filled with tower blocks. That is filled with allotments and chickens. There's absolutely no way in this God's earth that that sort of space will be allowed to exist in that condition in Monaco. Those 3 blocks are quite new. That's why they've got the cranes behind them. They're not yet finished. And if you wanted an apartment this size in one of those, it would probably cost you about roughly €1 million. But that would be here in France. As soon as you come here, if that block with a nice 4-bed, 4-bathroom and everything else like this one, here, 25 million. So the difference that a few millimeters make is insane. This is Lake Como, where Jack, my oldest son, got married. And it's a super special picture because I've got all 6 of my children in it, plus my granddaughter. The age range in that one picture goes all the way from, well, now Becky is now 37, and little Darcy is 9, but I think in that picture she was either 2 or 3. But one of the most special moments of that day was Darcy just went into the hotel, sat on a chair, got a book and did that. So that wasn't staged, she just did it. And this is like the inner sanctum. This is one of our inner hallways. This is Lewis Hamilton. One of my favourite pictures. Well, paintings, in fact. It's by a guy called Paul Oz, who specialises in this. And this picture is called, and if you're a Lewis fan, you'll probably know it already. It's called And Still We Rise. People say to me, why are you and Aniko so obsessed by Formula One? Well, I'm an engineer, and the tiniest little differences to add 1,000th or 100th or a 10th to a lap time are incredible. Most people would not do something in case it might go wrong. Formula One, complete opposite. If they don't fail, they haven't tried hard enough. Normal people are afraid of failing. Extraordinary people, they're afraid of not failing. Think about that. So here we go into the car park. We need to respect the owner's privacy. There's some really nice cars, but we're obviously going to blank out the plates. And I'll let you just walk ahead because there's nothing for me to say really. It's just beautiful cars. Okay, so that was the garage. Next up, we're going to see the spa. So swimming pools, gyms, massage, all that kind of stuff. So this is the outside garden area. We're in the spa now. So you can come up here to get your boxing training, if that's what you want. Not really my thing. We've got 2 whole gym suites this way. Down there, we've got the swimming pool. So living here it's about the apartment, but it's about much more than that. If you can make your vocation your vacation, you'll never work again a day in your life. Just think about that. Because so many people spend their entire lives, you've probably heard me say this before, the 40-40-40. What does that mean? It means 40 hours a week or more. For many people it's 60 or 70 hours a week for 40 years of your life in order to retire on 40% of what you couldn't afford to live on in the first place. You don't want to be in the 40-40-40. You want to do something because you love doing it. You've only got one life, you're not getting it back. So one of my mentors, one of my friends, or a mentor that became a friend, John DeMartini, he said, Paul Nanico, he said, it's really, really important that you don't let anything obstruct your view. Inspiration and vision are very, very closely related. And so in all of our properties, we've got a view clear to the horizon. And especially being up here, I mean, this block's nearly 50 stories tall and we're most of the way up it. To have this view, I don't know how to put a price on it. Anything that inspires you, anything, you should think very carefully about walking away from it, because an inspired version of you will achieve totally and utterly different results in your life than a 40-40-40 version of you. And that's your choice ultimately. Are we going to accept the fate that's given to us, or are we going to create our own fate? Super important. Make sure your surroundings inspire you, and make sure you control how you react to the world.